Our guest here in our first segment, we've got Robert Maillet here in studio. We've been trying to get him for 3 years. Chris, we've been harassing the lad. Now he's finally here, very excited.
He's been too busy making world #1 movies.
Unbelievable.
We had to
Although
get
I'm sure everybody's seen Deadpool at this point now. So.
Everybody in the world. Hugely successful movie. Big congratulations to your success on the big screen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We're going to start you right off the top, and we're gonna take a stroll down memory lane, Robert. We're going to talk about your wrestling career, and we're going to talk about where it all began. You know, how someone from New Brunswick gets involved and decides to move forward that way.
Well, I go back. I will go back when I was 20. Well, I always wanted to be a pro wrestler since I was a teen, been around 15, 16, and especially I grew up watching Grand Prix wrestling with my dad. You know, and went to the live shows. And some in Buktush and watched them on TV, so it's pretty exciting. But when I saw the WWF in the mid-'80s, when for the first time Hogan on top Macho, Andre, and all those guys, I was blown away. You know, I said, what the hell is this? This is better than Grand Prix. Big guys and over the top stuff is very exciting. And I convinced myself that I could do it. Maybe some of my friends were pushing me I could make it as a wrestler, and I convinced myself I could do it because I loved the sport, and I thought I could do it. I had the height for it. Maybe I wasn't that big at the time, but I had a passion for it.
Well, and that's it. You weren't just a big body guy. You had a passion for the sport. And like you said, who sort of brought you into Grand Prix? Because back then, was it protected? Like, it wasn't just guys.
Very much protected at the time. Still was.
Yeah.
I went. Well, first of all, I went to see the main guy. I went to visit his Emile Dupree at his home at his front door. You're a big guy. But I was tall. Like I said, I wasn't filled up at the time. I was only 18. Needed some muscles, and basically hit the gym, come back, But he was impressed. At least it was tall. It was a big guy, so he likes big guys. But didn't go any forward with him at the time. But then I found out in the winter that is Big Steven Petitball, who was one of the main guys from Grand Prix Wrestling, a veteran of wrestling. He wrestled all over the world, Germany, Japan. He was playing hockey in Buktush. We're 10 minutes away from my home, and it was Steven, this is an opportunity, because there was no schools at the time in the Maritimes.
And that's it. Wasn't so much guys where it was protected. It wasn't guys, hey, I want to be a wrestler.
Right.
They would find you and say, hey.
Yeah, absolutely. You had to go outside the province to go to school now, like in Ontario or the States, and it's too much money. I couldn't afford it at the time. So when I heard it was Petitball playing a game, this bugged him. So I went directly in the dressing room during the breaks, between periods, and so I met him for the first time, and he sized me up. He said, I was a big guy, and then I asked him. Wanted to be a wrestler, and at the time obviously he didn't have time to train guys. It was still winter time. Yeah, it was around January or December. But he kept me in mind, though. Maybe 8 months later, this is in August of 1990. He called me up. Asked me if I was still interested to be a pro wrestler, to be trained as a wrestler. And I was like, why, sure. It was exciting, I didn't want to miss an opportunity. So he brought me, basically at the end of the circuit, it was at the end of the circuit of the Grand Prix that we're about to wrap up in September. And so there was a couple of guys from the season that had to leave, that had to go elsewhere. So they needed to fill up the roster. And so the idea was to train me and train two other guys. So one of them is a local boxer from Moncton, Rob Mazerow. And I forget the other guy's name, sorry. But just three of us. And we set up a ring at Saint-Osyme in the arena, an empty arena. And it was, the whole thing was very memorable for me because it was a dream. Yeah. Even in high school, a big bug in my friends, my family, in my class book, it was saying what I wanted to be after school. Of course, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. So I had a dream, I had a passion, and then going in an old ring, Emile Dupree's ring, an old 40-year-old ring, was very exciting. And then learning the bumps, learning to lock up, to take bumps, and all that stuff. It's pretty cool.
Was Big Steve teaching you?
Yes,
he broke you in. Yeah, so he basically.
Steven was the teacher.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And I know some guys in the summertime, Emil would have the ring set up sort of behind the house.
He would. That's how Stephen Padabal got trained.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much. He was telling me stories about that.
Yeah. And that's who was your favorite guy coming up at that time? Like you said, you watched Grand Prix. Tons of legends that a lot of local people know from Grand Prix.
At the time, Cuban, of course. Cuban was a fascinating character. He's a very tough man. Very nice, very pleasant, very nice man.
Yeah.
And he's been all over the world, so he's a lot of knowledge into him. And great cook as well. Amazing cook. Teriyaki steak. It's funny. But Leo Burke. I met some of the brothers. Bobby Kay was that summer when I started. I was only the tail end, like a month of the tail end of that season, and Bobby Kay was there. It was very, very cool, very nice guy. Leo, of course. And Leo was very influential as well later on in my career, wrestling career.
Yep.
Who else? So many guys. But just Todd, and of course later on was Todd McPhee as well, a good friend of mine today.
Todd the Bod.
Todd the Bod from Spring Hill. And he came later on to be trained, so we grew up kind of in the business. We started at the same time.
Well, like you said, Leo Burke, the influence he had on you. Also, when you went out to Calgary to train with Bret Hart, under Leo Burke, sort of breaking into the WWE.
That was the biggest,
sort of explain how you went from the Grand Prix circuit going out west to be noticed.
Well, the huge gap.
Yeah.
Grand Prix, Emil wanted to retire at the time. Of course, he came out years later, but in 1990, they had enough of it.
Renee was still too young.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. So that was his last summer. But Padabal has some other ideas. Padabal wanted to run again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential in the Maritimes. And plus he had me and a couple other new guys, like Todd and other students as well, the Soaring Eagle. And then the other wrestlers from outside the province who were friends with Padabal, from out west, they wanted to come along. Rod and Ron Starr from the U.S., classic heel.
Yeah.
But Stephen wanted to do it. He wanted to be a promoter at this time, and so I worked with him for the next 2 summers, 91. I trained all winter, that winter of the year I started, and then it started in 91, and summer 91, and summer 92. And then that was it. He was tired of that too. They wrapped it up, and I did some tours. Luckily, I did some tours with Bad Boy 80 Watts. He's from Winnipeg originally. He was a mainstay in the Maritimes.
Former Super B.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know your stuff.
I know my stuff.
Tough guy. Small in stature, but tough. He's physical and he had the attitude for it.
Yeah.
And a classic heel too. But he brought me into Mexico for the first time. He was a veteran of touring Mexico and Japan, and he saw I could make some money with me, I guess, for teaming up together. So we went down together to Mexico City. First time outside. I mean, it was out of my zone there. It was pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah. And you being a big man going down to sort of the high-flying lucha libre style.
The style I didn't adapt to the style very well. Plus the altitude of the air, the air was very thin. So, oh my God, luckily we had 2 out of 3 falls. So the idea is there's like 2-minute break, and we always had 3 on 3, like 6-man tags. So we always take breaks. So you were out of breath after 2 minutes. You're just out of breath.
Yeah, just gas.
It's like gasping for air.
Yeah.
So in between falls, you had like 4-minute breaks. So just trying to take advantage of breathing. That was tough. That was very tough. And the psychology is very different in North America. So I was trying to adapt with that.
Yeah.
Very choreographed-ish. It looks choreographed for me.
I was going to ask you too. So at what point did you know that coming from New Brunswick, you made it? This is it. This is what you were going to do professionally.
Well, being overseas is kind of cool. Like Mexico brought me into Japan. So Japan, I know, is a big deal. Japan is very strong in wrestling. Especially, I wanted to have a Ribera jacket. Because I did my first. This is my first tryout in WWF. This is in '91.
Right.
Okay.
My first tryout. Didn't work out though. It didn't happen. But they flew me in. They heard of me, I think through Leo or some of the other veterans of that summer. They knew some of the agents for the WWF. Yep. And they referred me, talked about me, and they were interested. So they flew me in
For a house show?
TV taping on Utica, New York, upstate New York.
Yep.
But exciting. It's like nervous, though, afraid, scared, and exciting because I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. I was still kind of green, Wasn't the shape I wanted to be. It was the end of the season this summer, so I was already burned out. Life on the road was tough, not eating well, But what the hell with it? I would have been foolish to say no, So it was very exciting, very exciting. First time on a plane, on the plane from Moncton, the old Moncton Airport. Going to Utica. It was pretty cool. And then we picked up Owen Hart. I met Owen Hart for the first time at the airport. We were picking him up and me up at the same time, going to the arena. So first time I met Owen. This was kind of cool, yeah. And then backstage at the TV taping, I met everybody there. It was like, my mind was blowing. I was still a mark, And Taker. That's why I saw Taker with the Ribera jacket. I wanted, that's cool, that's badass. I want that jacket. I know the Ribera was a big deal in Japan. Pedapal was there, had it too,
And for the folks watching at home, basically there's a steakhouse in Japan that gives wrestlers and
MMA fighters.
MMA fighters basically custom made like silk jackets, say Ribera.
Getting the green jacket from Golf Master.
Exactly,
That's the same. For me, it's the same thing. Like you made it as a wrestler. It's
exactly. Huge honor to have.
It took a while though. I didn't have it the first trip. I went back to Japan a second time. 3 times. I forget how many times I went to Japan. But I knew I had a feeling the last time I was in Japan. I had a feeling I was going to be my last. I didn't know when I was going to come back. So I wanted a jacket. I ate so much steak, Kobe steak. I ate 4 of them. There was me and my big guy Juggernaut. He's from Vancouver. We were on the contest. Who was going to eat the most steak? Expensive though. So my pay, mostly half of my pay, was worth it. It was the best steak in the world. And I got the jacket at the end. I still wear. Actually, it's right there.
Well, I remember bumping into you at the airport in New York, and I was like, "Who's that monster wearing a Ribera jacket?"
I know.
It's Rob.
I'm very proud. Even my wife thinks that it's been 18 years. Maybe dirty, But when it's clean, but I'm proud to wear it all the time.
And that's because it's something you've earned, right?
I did. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a big honor.
It's not like you get it at a Frenchie store.
So you finish the event, you're out back, you're meeting, the rest of the WWF superstars at the time, and I mean, at that point, you talked about the impact. The Hart family specifically. Look at the impact they've had, and obviously coming from Canada.
Well, I saw Bret too at the time, but of course. I was just a dark match, a local opener. That didn't work out too well. First time in front of 7,000 people was wrestling Bob Bradley. He was one of the jobbers there, and they booed me all right away. Of course, I got booed. 7,000 people booing me. So it was pretty.
And you hadn't worked heel before.
No, I haven't.
No, you were always the local.
So basically, after the match, we'll call you, because they knew I wasn't ready. So it was a disappointment, I thought it was my last opportunity.
Okay.
To have a tryout with them, to be in the WWF. Yeah. But that was November 91. But so I would say 5 years later, so it took 5 years. Again, between the 5 years, I wasn't wrestling that much. I was bouncing. Yeah. Actually, not far from the shipyard. This is not
it was just down
the old shipyard.
Around the corner.
The new Urban Corral. It's called the Urban Corral. The new Urban Corral. Bouncing everywhere and back home. Yeah. So not doing that much. But I got the call from Leo in November of '96. Yeah. Just out of the blue, asked me if I could. He said Bret Hart wanted to meet me. He wanted to fly me in to meet him. So. Right away, he got me a hello. That's the call I wanted. That's the call I always wanted. That's what I was waiting for. It was great. It's the best feeling in the world. It was very exciting. That's how I got started. And then they flew me into Calgary. Met Bret for the first time. It was very cool. Very cool.
And you moved out there to train, did you?
For a month. I stayed at his sister-in-law.
Okay. Were you training out of the dungeon at that point?
No.
No. Okay.
At his home. At some of the time, his house at the time was they had an indoor pool. They had the ring set up over the pool.
Oh, wow.
But that was just kind of weird and crazy. It was very exciting, though, very exciting. You know? And Leo was there helping me out. So Leo, like I said, Leo referred me to him, to Bret. So.
Because Leo basically was big in Stampede. He'd go out and work for the Harts and book the territory out in
learned,
Calgary.
he taught Bret a lot
exactly.
when he was young. So, very
and
much.
he had a lot of influence with Bret. He says,
yes,
this guy's good.
And Leo was still is one of the best minds in wrestling.
Yeah.
Good psychology.
Well, talking about Bret's influence, I mean, what kind of influence did Bret Hart have with McMahon at the time? I mean,
strong.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Still, at the time, still strong.
Yeah.
Of course. A year later, maybe not. A year later, the whole screw job happened, but that was a year later. By the time, he was still the champion at the time. Or he wasn't the champion. He just lost his belt against Shawn at WrestleMania.
Took some time off there.
Took some time off. He was going to do his comeback there.
Yeah.
Working with Stone Cold at the time. So he was very strong with the Canadian versus U.S. Gimmick there, storyline.
Yeah, that
so
was a hot summer for
Bret helped me a lot. Bret helped us a lot. Me and the rest of my guys, the Truth Commission that was teamed up with. Yeah.
So when you first came in, obviously you're lined up sort of as a Truth Commission. Was that a Bret Hart sort of idea?
In a way, it was. He got influenced by Bret. Bret helped it. It came from
South Africa, I think, with
Robin Smith, the local actor, local actor from South Africa. He was doing voiceovers for the WWE.
Okay.
And they went on tour years ago, a little while back, when Bret was on tour in South Africa, and that's how he met Robin.
Yep.
And Robin invited him to his place to have a barbecue, and Robin had an idea about this gimmick, this tag team, the Truth Commission, the whole militia, like during the apartheid years, it was just kind of, edgy, I guess. But Bret liked it, liked the idea. And he told one of the agents, Pat Patterson, and then went up to Vince, and that's how it got evolved from there.
Because when you first came in, I heard a rumor that you were sort of brought in to work with The Undertaker.
In a way.
Yeah.
Anyway, they set me up for it. Yeah. Especially with the split me. They were pushing me. We started strong as a tag team, the commission, but they were protecting me for sure.
Yeah.
Just pushing me as this big guy, giant, and then they separated me. And that's where I was. They baptized me as Kurrgan.
Kurrgan from there, and that was with Don Callis.
Don Callis,
who sort of took over for Robin.
That was the whole. Yeah, Robin. The reason why they let go of Robin because he's an actor.
Yeah, right.
He's not a pro wrestler.
Exactly.
And every time he took a bump, he would hurt himself.
Yeah.
So the liability, So they brought in Don Callis, which he could talk, amazing talker, and he could work, he could wrestle
as well.
And he was a very charismatic guy as well.
Yeah.
As a jackal, he kind of this Gary Koresh type of deal. Yeah.
So a year later, I mean, you brought up the Montreal Screwjob. We're going to bring it up. I mean, you were there. I mean, it must have been something else to have to be around. I mean, to see what was going through at that time. It was a year later. I mean, you're still quite new to the sport at that point, like in the pro side of things.
In the pro, yeah, absolutely. I was still learning the ropes. Very overwhelming a bit at the time, trying to understand my gimmick, try to get over.
Yeah, and to look at what it became today. I mean, people still talk about that event in
They
Montreal
do.
To this day.
They do. It's still talked about. It's crazy.
It's a day that lives in infamy. But you were backstage.
I was backstage in history. It's pretty wild. And it was in Montreal. Now that was Sunday.
Yep.
Sunday,
Pay-per-view,
right?
yep.
Pay-per-view Sunday. But we found out that maybe 2 days before that Bret was going to be his last match.
Yeah.
Sunday was his blew our mind.
He was going to WCW.
He was going to WCW, so there was a shock, not to me, but to everybody else. I mean, holy, why? It was because Bret was always there for us, and he was always part of the WWF since almost the beginning. And then leaving for WCW.
Well, it would have been a slap in the face.
It was in a way. It felt just sad about that. And then, so that was that, and then. We did our match. It was our first big match in the pay-per-view against the DOA. So it was pretty exciting working in Montreal.
And you went over?
We went over, again, they were pushing me again. So I was the sole survivor. So it was pretty exciting. And then afterwards, we got dressed, we showered and all that, and then we decided to watch the match. This Bret and Shawn's match. Me and Barry Buchanan, my partner.
Lucky.
Yeah, and the monitors in the back. And then, so we watched the match, and we were about to go back to the hotel, you know. And then we saw that screwy finish, but we have no idea about the whole thing at all. We had no clue, of course. Yeah. But we knew the finish something was wrong. You know, the facial reactions of Bret and Shawn and everybody. It was like Vic got spat on, and then it was it's not good. And I remember me and Barry look at each other like, yeah, let's go. Yeah. Let's get out before the whole thing's going to blow up.
Yeah.
And then we went to the dressing room to get our bags. And of course, we shared, in that dressing room, Bret was there too, and then Shawn. And they were afraid after the match that Bret and Shawn would get a fight, because they happened in the past. They happened a few months before. They got an altercation backstage. Yep. Pulling hair and stuff. Apparently, Bret was pulling hair. So,
vicious.
So real heat. You know?
Yeah. Oh, it was
real heat. So the agents, the roadies, asked us to stay. So if anything happened, we could separate them. Great, get us involved. Especially Bret, that helped us to get in. Why would we stand in the way, you know, of Bret? Yeah. So but we had no choice. You know, so we had to stay. You know.
So were you there when the infamous punch to Vince
McMahon? No, but we weren't. We were there right before it happened. Yeah. Okay. Because we stayed, and then I remember Shawn coming in first, basically denying the whole thing. It's not, it's not his fault. Didn't know anything.
He wasn't in on it.
Because he was.
Exactly.
He's admitted it later on, years later. Yeah. And then and then a few minutes later, it took a while because Bret was still in the ring, just throwing monitors around. Yeah. Right. Bret came in, very quiet, sat on his bench, and then very quietly asked Shawn if he had anything to do with it. Now, because that was all recorded as Wrestling with Shadows.
Great documentary.
Basically, the camera was there when the whole thing that Bret was talking to Shawn. We were behind the camera, so we were there. So of course Shawn denied it. So all right, nothing happened. And then Bret, still furious or fuming, I guess, went to the showers. And that's what happened. That's where all the agents came in. Shane McMahon came in, and then we saw Vince coming in. And then they told us to leave, which we were happy to get out of there. We went towards, I remember going towards the cars. This is such a huge maze in the Bell Center in Montreal, trying to get into the car garage, trying to get into our cars, trying to find out, trying to get the hell out of there as quick as we could. And then I remember me and Barry and the other members saw Vince and his entourage. Saw Vince go into his car as well, but he wasn't himself, like he was drunk or something. Yeah. I don't know if I noticed the mark on his face, like a black eye. I don't remember, but he was kind of hazy, staggering a bit.
You can see in the documentary too.
That but we had no clue though, no idea what happened until we got to the hotel and saw some of the boys were there, and that's what they told us. Yeah. They got punched, what the hell? The whole night, that was just crazy. It was just unreal. And then, so that went down. A lot of the boys were split about that. A lot of them wanted to leave. Some did leave, David Boy, especially the family, the clique there. Yeah. David Boy Smith and Anvil left. And some of the boys were they upset, hated Vince, very upset with the office, how they did it, And then the next day in Ottawa was the Raw taping. First time
everybody's back together.
Back together after the Survivor Series, and we had a big speech with Vince. Give us a big speech with all the boys. And, it had to be done. Blah 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 blah. It was business, but it was just surreal, though. Unreal. Shocking, really.
Yeah, Rob, we don't have a ton of time left. This is going really well.
It's flying, oh my lord.
Incredible. But I do want to get into the point that now, obviously, from a wrestling perspective, now you've gotten into acting. You've been in some fantastic films as of late. I mean, where did you make that transition, and what drove you to want to get into the movie scene?
It was a great opportunity to be, and why not? It was on my lap. I started locally in Halifax. Did small parts and stuff. My big break, of course, was in 300, and that's from all of Wrestling Contacts, pretty much. I got Jacques Rougeau. The movie was shot in Montreal, and they wanted to see a big guy who can do, like a stunt actor, who can do that role, that uber immortal role. Big fight scene.
I remember sitting home watching a Montreal Alouettes game, and during halftime was going to be yourself fighting Hacksaw Jim Duggan in the midfield of the football game through Jacques Rougeau, and like you said, that sort of led to your opportunity in 300 from Montreal.
It did. Yeah, it opened the doors for me from there, and then 300 was a great experience working on that film, and then Sherlock Holmes happened afterwards.
I was going to say, getting to work with the cast of the people you've met throughout your career. I mean, going from Robert Downey Jr. to now even being in Deadpool. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just absolutely incredible to see somebody from New Brunswick being able to represent and do these things. Right?
And they are shooting a new James Bond movie.
They're prepping for it. Yeah.
You would be spectacular in a Bond movie.
I did audition for the last one.
Oh, really?
I did, but Batista got the part.
Batista got that.
Yeah, so he did.
But he's busy with Guardians and the rest of the Marvel Universe now, so I think you're all set.
It would be a bucket list for sure to be in a Bond movie, for sure.
Absolutely. You've got your hair looks great, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I got a hair.
Well, you're a leading man material, baby. Like this is the big time, right? So I would have loved to have seen you in Game of Thrones too. I think you could take the mountain.
Well, I don't know if I could take the mountain. He's a strong guy. He can deadlift 1,000 pounds.
Ooh.
I don't know if I can beat that. I can deadlift 400 pounds.
Easily.
I
saw you toss a few, just like I saw you toss a few guys at the Urban Corral.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with your downtime now?
My downtime, I'll just get.
He's here with us. Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Here with you. Biking. That's my hobby. So I like biking. We like to work out, to go to the gym. I like bicycling. Be with the family, of course.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm getting ready to go to Pays de Sagouin this summer. I'll be one of the characters on the Little Piss at the village. So be the strong guy, the giant guy. So that's very exciting. Mingle with the crowd, talk to the people, tell my stories. Yeah.
You definitely keep yourself busy. You got the Tree of Hope as well, do you?
Not anymore.
Not
no,
anymore.
but for 2 years I was part of
the
the co-chairman of the Tree of Hope. It was a very great experience. Yeah.
Well, Robert, honestly, I can't thank you enough for doing this, my friend. Thank you. This is an absolute honor for Chris and I to be able to sit here with you. So, congratulations on all your success. We love doing it. I'd love to get you on some other time when you get some more free time. We can do this again for another half hour. So thanks again.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, guys, it's going to wrap it up for us here in the first segment. It's been an absolute treat. Thank you so much. We've got a lot more great guests coming up on Across the Line. We'll see you after the break.